Time for your daily check-in with the natural state of sports. Alex Stewart, Riley the producer, young Riley. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm
What's
still
up?
getting into the broadcasting groove today, and 2 days in a row. That
Back
might be a
again.
record for a guest. Is
Yes.
is Will? I guess that eligibility stayed clear despite
Yeah.
what the SEC just said.
Yeah. Unfortunately for dae'Quanwright, he can't get the same exceptions as me. It's unfortunate.
So I mean, we got ourselves like a Christopher Nolan Odyssey type situation here with all this eligibility. I'm going to do my best to try and catch you up to get you to where we are today. So, all right, let's do this. So the NCAA over the summer ruled that you have 5 years to
Right.
play. Okay, but simple enough. That essentially includes your redshirt year. So redshirt years gone
Hmm.
under this new rule. 5 years, you can play 5 years before you go pro. That caused all sorts of issues and created a loophole, which several players have now exploited. If you were in the class of 2022, I believe
Yeah.
you said,
22,
correct?
23. Yeah.
You could still have a year of eligibility left.
Hmm.
What happened was these guys realized that, hey, we can now come back to college if we turned pro because we still have a year of eligibility
Right.
left. And that was the big story over the weekend. The court ruling said, yep, totally fine. They could do that. So I believe there were 15 athletes that were undrafted or drafted in the NFL that could make their return to college athletics based on this new
Hmm.
rule. Obviously, colleges weren't particularly happy about all of this, kind of blurring the line between college and pros, which is already kind of getting there with NIL. But I digress. That is a
Yep.
completely
Yep.
separate issue
Hmm.
that we can get into at a different point in time. Big Ten, I think, was maybe the first of the Power Fours to come out and issue their statement and said
Big
this
Ten
ain't happening.
was the first.
Big Ten was the
first. SEC followed right after.
And SEC followed right after yesterday with their statement, ruling, whatever it is. Again, this is all very murky because the NCAA can't govern itself and
Right.
is still at the mercy of
It's the states,
courts,
right? Yeah.
court systems.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was another scandal we had in the offseason
Hmm.
was the whole eligibility.
Was it Trinidad Chambliss?
Trinidad
Yeah.
Chambliss, yeah, Sorsby with Texas A&M, the
Yep.
quarterback.
Yep.
The gambling thing, they said you're suspended. The court, one county over, imagine that, said no, you can go ahead and play. Injunction blocked, so now he's playing. So it's just college athletics is the Wild West right now, and I don't think it needs to be. It's
Right.
just kind of things happen, and then we adjust instead of thinking things out, and then we can maybe fine tune if we miss some loopholes.
Right.
But to get to the matter at hand, SEC brought the ruling down. And Will, you kind of know the punishment setup here. Essentially, they said if you signed on a pro roster, if you were drafted by the professionals, if you did not input your name correctly to re-enter college,
Right.
you cannot join. We're trying to keep college athletics and professional athletics separate.
Can I say one thing before?
Yeah, of course.
Before we get into the punishments, the actual punishments. Greg Sankey has the overarching responsibility for punishment. So it's similar to how Roger Goodell is the punisher for the NFL. He makes the final decision at the end of the day. Sankey will make the final decisions on any of the punishments that, well, you're about to explain right now.
And I believe it's a case-by-case basis, correct, young Riley?
Yes. Case-by-case basis.
Could punishments could vary, essentially, is what I'm getting at. So, Will, with all of that said, the foundation, I know we covered a lot, boil it down. Professional athletes cannot come back to college athletics. Crazy concept. What happens if they do?
I believe a lot of things, like you said, is murky. It's up to Sankey, but I know the biggest thing right now is I believe reporting is saying that head coaches can be suspended for 6 games or half a season, which would be huge. And I think that's the correct decision because it comes down to the head coach. The head coach kind of ultimately decides who's on the roster. And if you're going out there and actively recruiting guys who have already left and said, hey, I'm done with college, I want to go be a pro or try to be a pro. That's absolute correct decision because a lot of times these players are punished, right? They're told they can do something because a head coach try to find a loophole, and obviously the player has to go along with it, and then they're left out while the coach still gets paid. Lane Kiffin's still going to get paid. He's still going to be at LSU, who's, looks like a title. They have a chance at a title, while dae'Quanwright just got waived, and where does he go from here?
And just to add some context, he's not signaling out Lane Kiffin because Lane Kiffin is a walking meme and troll.
Yeah.
The biggest case that's been going on here with this is dae'Quanwright. He was a tight end for Ole Miss.
Mhm.
You got drafted by the Eagles. He was waived. He was picked up by the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
I don't know if they waived him or
I believe
they
they did.
informed him that they were going to waive him.
Mhm.
Regardless, he said, "Okay, then with this new ruling, I'm going to go
Back.
back to LSU, which
Right.
is where Lane Kiffin
Yeah.
currently resides." So that has been the
Yeah.
most high profile case, young Riley.
And the other, this isn't just the NFL. It was just, I mean, it's been the main highlight this week with
Right,
the new
with
rule
football
changes. I
season. Yep.
think it was the final straw, but this is also targeting the NBA and the
Mhm.
WNBA. So it'll be interesting to see. I think the other story that's been happening recently was a Jazz player who played for the Jazz during the summer league tried to come back as well. And I think there was another case of basketball again last year, if I'm not mistaken. But this isn't just targeting football; it's
Right.
also targeting basketball as well. And I
Yeah.
believe, if I'm not mistaken,
I know they included WNBA just for purposes, and just other leagues too. I think
yep.
overseas and like the minor leagues. Maybe I don't even know if the Big Three counts. With as far as basketball
All
goes.
they don't even NHL's different, and then yeah, no MLB in this one either. It's literally just
Mhm.
football and basketball for
So,
this new
so
rule.
young Riley has pulled up in front of me here the SEC's statement. It says, signed a contract with an NFL or other professional football league, NBA, G League, or WNBA/affiliate team, or has been listed on an NFL or other professional roster, NBA, G League, WNBA. So those are the specific leagues called out by name. NFL, NBA, WNBA are the three that are
Right.
very specifically mentioned in what the SEC was talking about. Just to get back to the punishments here, I kind of want to get your guys' opinion. Do you think 6 games for a coach, not the athlete,
Right.
coach, too steep, just right, or should it be less?
I think. I think it's just right. 6 games. That's now for certain schedules. I know in the SEC again. I wanted to single out Lane Kiffin, but that would be three just cupcake teams, and then that's also three SEC teams. So that would be a huge blow for them. Again, that was the biggest move they made this offseason, along with a couple of transfers and recruits. Was that they signed him? They brought him over from Ole Miss, and yeah, 6 games. That's a huge chunk. That's half a season. So
Young Riley, you agree with that? Should it be
half a
steeper?
season, is definitely a signal that they, we don't want this. We don't want this at all. And I also think isn't there's a monetary punishment as well where they take away what 20% of their budget or
I felt
something
like
like
it
that.
was
They find,
higher than that. I
yeah,
remember
it was
seeing
a
the number.
hefty fine, and I think that would be more significant, especially with NIL stuff, with just operational stuff. So I think that's more of the significant punishment. Obviously, missing 6 games is significant, anyways. But yeah, I mean they're putting their foot down here. That's for darn sure.
it's the correct decision.
Yeah, no,
Absolutely.
they are not messing around with this, and they shouldn't,
Mhm.
especially because of the whole history that I kind of gave with all of the issues that we've been dealing with here throughout the course of the off season.
Mhm.
So certainly something to monitor. I'll be curious to see if any courts or anything now come in and try and injunction that, and just
Yeah.
injunction,
It's gonna
injunction,
happen.
injunction. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully we can just put this matter away. And then again, it's interesting. The conference is trying to govern,
Yeah.
not the NCAA,
Mhm.
but enough about the boring stuff, the
Yeah.
overall thing that is kind of, in my opinion, sort of ruining the sport of college
Right.
athletics, I guess I should say, not
The
just a
innocence.
sport, but yeah, it's ruining what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
But let's go ahead and talk about the actual sports, and let's go ahead and localize this down to
Mhm.
Arkansas. We spent a lot of time talking about football, and we should. It's coming up. But the other one, football, soccer,
Mhm.
to some, has already started here on the hill, and Will, kind of an underwhelming start
Yes.
for
Yeah.
a Hogs team that was ranked top 10. They are currently 0-2-1, and it's not like that one tie
Mhm.
was to a good team.
Right.
It was to Loyola, Maryland, 1-1. Um, yeah, this is a team that started the season top 10.
Yeah.
They dropped out after the first week, which is kind of
Mhm.
asinine to me, but it is what it is.
I mean, losing what was it 0-2 to an unranked team? That's it's tough. When you're top 10, no, usually there's no excuses. There's no leniency with that.
Do you think, Will, it's time to panic yet? I know soccer is shorter than other
Right.
seasons like basketball, a little
Mhm.
bit longer than football. Would you say it's time to panic right now, or are you still comfortable saying, look, the girls in Colby Hale will get going?
I think they'll get going. Like I said, they're gonna go. I believe the schedule lightens up a little bit. Then they're gonna go into conference play, and I do believe conference play is a little more weighted, and I guess preseason is what you
Right.
would call it. I think they have a chance, to make the tournament and just kind of turn things around. They're 3 games in, 2 losses and 1 tie. It'll be interesting to see if they can do it. Having belief is one thing, and them actually doing it is another.
Well,
But
if there's one thing they know how to do, it's to come back and win. Young Riley, the success of this program here, especially in conference play, dynastic almost.
5 SEC championships in the last 6 years.
Yeah, 20.
Is that regular season or conference playoff?
Last year for sure was regular season.
Yeah.
They ended up getting bounced in the tournament, but yeah,
I
5
think is what
Southeastern Conference champions between the tournament and
Mhm.
regular season. So they do know how to win.
Yeah.
Like you said, if we can go ahead and scroll down to the schedule here, I've got it pulled up in front of me. They've got Clemson on Thursday at 7 p.m. Then, like Will mentioned, a little bit of a reprieve, Little Rock at Razorback Field, and then Jackson State also at Razorback Field.
Mhm.
So they have a very get-right portion of the
Right.
schedule right now. And then as they go into SEC play, like you said, I mean, they open with Texas, which I don't know much about Texas soccer,
Mhm.
but it is a rivalry game, and you know how things get when it's a rival.
Mhm. Is that at Texas or Razorback?
I believe that's at Razorback Field.
Yep.
They got a very home-heavy schedule,
Okay.
which is good
Still-
for them
They don't. Their first away game is the 18th.
against
Still got-
Alabama.
Yep. Next 4 are at home.
Well,
Listen,
and then
soccer-
after that, it's another 3 at home.
Uh-huh.
As I'm looking at the schedule, so they have a very favorable
Yeah.
setup to get right. They just don't lose at home. I believe prior
Mhm.
to the season, they lost 4 games at home in the last 5 or 6 years, something like that.
That's exactly what you want to hear. Like I said, after that rough start, it's time to turn it around, or it might be too late.
It's so
2-minute warning.
all right. So 2-minute warning. We got to start speeding up here just to kind of put a cap here on the women's soccer thing. I've been out to their 2 home games.
Mhm.
The one thing they're missing is that aggression that Colby Hale tends to bring. He likes his teams to always attack, and if they get too far ahead
Mhm.
and they get burned, that's okay because we're constantly
Right.
attacking.
Flying pressure.
That's what he wants to see, and I think that these girls can bring it.
Mhm.
So they're going to try and get right. Clemson tomorrow at 7 p.m. on Razorback Field. Also starting here soon, August 28th, volleyball picking up at Barnhill. They're going to start their season with some invitational. They got a bunch of teams coming to the Hill. Now, this is an interesting one, Will, because 2-3 years ago, this was a Sweet 16 team. They made it for the first time in program history.
Mhm.
Last year, they were 5-22. It's just been declining.
Mhm.
I mean, does that give you any pause, or is it new year, new team?
I think every year you're going new year, new team. And you gotta have that mindset. Last year was last year. But like I said, if they have a start similar to the soccer team, that confidence, that belief might dwindle a bit. And you can be in store for another 5-22 season. I don't think they'll be that bad this year, though.
That's one thing that when you've tasted success, you do know how to win,
Mhm.
and so you can always bring it back. Hopefully, it just comes down to recruiting, NIL, that sort of thing. Because even prior to the Sweet 16, they had made the NCAA tournament, but they get going on the 28th against SIUE, 7 p.m. at Barnhill. So we are really getting busy here on the Hill. No shortage of things to talk about, from SEC and NCAA rulings to soccer, football, of course, volleyball. Will, always a pleasure to have you, man.
Thank you for having me.
I think that's going to be it. Young Riley at the producer booth. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow, 6:45.